small batch handmade production tools. Okay, let's see if the Monport Reno65 Pro engrave as fast as the 800mm per second they promise. I tested the Monport Reno65 Pro on plywood at different engraving speeds and laser powers. As you can see, at 10% laser power, 800mm per second can achieve effective laser engraving. At 40% laser power, even at 800mm per second, the plywood was engraved to a very noticeable result. This is truly a machine that will increase the productivity of small business owners. So, the Monport Reno65 Pro is the fastest desktop carbon dioxide laser engraver I have ever seen, with an incredible 800mm per second engraving speed. I also use it to cut 3mm plywood to test the cutting efficiency of this 65 watts CO2 laser. As you can see, the Monport Reno65 Pro can make the fastest cut of 40mm per second with one pass, which is a very high cutting efficiency. With this cutting speed, a large plywood DIY project can be completed in minutes. According to the official information, the Monport Reno65 Pro 65 watts CO2 laser engraver and cutter can cut 20mm acrylic, 18mm plywood, 20mm foam, and 7mm rubber at one pass. Since I don't have the materials mentioned above, I use the Monport Reno65 Pro to cut 10mm plywood to evaluate its cutting ability. As you can see, it cuts very powerfully at a cutting speed of 3mm per second and 100 laser power. It can easily cut 10mm of plywood. And as a suggestion, since the plywood is a very flammable wood, cutting it at a low speeds can lead to excessive burning, which affects the quality of the surface. If you want to get a better cutting result, I recommend increasing the cutting speed and making several passes. Next, I will test the accuracy of Monport Reno65 Pro's movement to assess whether 800mm per second is a good enough speed for practical use. I first tested the accuracy at the usual 400mm per second engraving speed. I did this by engraving cycles and rectangles of different sizes on the plywood sheet at 400mm per second, with the edge of the cycles and rectangles being tangent to each other. As you can see, the 400mm per second engraving speed has no adverse effect on the accuracy of the machine's movement. It very accurately draws cycles and rectangles on the plywood, and their edges are perfectly tangent, and the arcs are perfectly formed. Next, to explore the efforts of different engraving speed on the Monport Reno65 Pro's movement accuracy, I complete engraving text ranging from 300mm per second to 800mm per second. The results show perfectly XY-axis motion synergy at every speed. Cycles and rectangles were perfectly tangent to each other, and cycles were perfectly formed. You may be puzzled and unable to understand the effects of motion speed on engraving quality. So, let's do a comparison. On the right is the motion stability of a desktop diode laser engraver Acma D3, which I tested before. During the motion accuracy test, the Acma P3 starts to distort the cycle at a motion speed of 100mm per second. When the engraving speed reaches 150mm per second, the cycle is already severely deformed. This comparison is enough to explain the professionalism of the Monport Reno65 Pro. It is indeed a professional desktop CO2 laser engraver, and I highly recommend it as your handmade production machine. Next, let's relax and make a craft project together using this professional CO2 laser engraver and cutter.